We're always hearing a lot about artificial intelligence, and last week Google's AI team announced a huge leap when it comes to quantum computing. Their new computer chip called Willow said to now calculate in less than 5 minutes what would take a standard computer 10 septillion years to complete.
And I don't know anything about this, but I know that there's snacks on the set, and I'm real happy about it. The new developments could have a big impact on medical and scientific research. Here to break it all down for us is our Monday morning quarterback, Mike Muse. Mike, always happy to see you.
Yo, let's go.
All right, what's
so
the latest
excited.
here? I'm gonna eat my snacks while you explain this stuff.
Okay, I'm excited, but you guys set me up so well. Google released Willow. What makes Willow such an incredible feat in quantum computing? Let me say, as a scientist, we always thought this was a lifetime away, but the future is now. DeMarco, you said 10 septillion? That's a 10 with 24 zeros behind it. That is older than the universe itself. So imagine a computer being able to solve a complex problem in 5 minutes that would take a traditional computer the age of the universe in order to create.
Wow.
What makes Google's Willow chip so exceptional is the error rate.
So it sounds amazing, but again, why should our viewers care about it?
Oh my gosh!
Why are there snacks?
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to the snacks, America. I know that's what we care about is snacks, because it can solve for very complex problems in the world, like it's all for with the technology. Let me slow down. Let me temper my excitement.
I'm so excited.
Because of this quantum computing technology at faster rates, scientists and researchers now can solve complex problems like finding a cure for cancer, finding a cure for Alzheimer's, really taking a look at our clean energy and really figuring out how can we store solar energy that to be scaled in order to supply a whole city. Think of a microprocessor chip as essentially like this, right?
The graham cracker.
The graham cracker. We've all worked our SIM cards, we put our new phones in, we transfer, we put that SIM chip in. Think of it like that. Think of it as a chip. So what I had to research was, what kind of graham cracker should I use in theory? Should I use cinnamon toasted? Should I use honey coated? Should I use plain? Then I had to figure out what type of peanut butter or flux or glue should I use? Should I use chunky? Should I use smooth? Should I use almond? Should I use cashew? So then you come along, and then you have to look at the balls that you see on the microprocessor chips. Should I use raisins? Should I use M&Ms?
M&Ms.
Survey says.
M&Ms.
And then you put it all together, and this is what I came up with as a final product of it. But imagine how long that took me. Imagine with quantum computing, that could have been done in a split second, and so less error rates.
I'm so rude. I didn't even share.
Yeah. And that is why the future is now. This is why Willow is so special, and this is why we're all so excited in the science and technology community. And more graham crackers for everyone.
You
And
better use
M&Ms.
graham crackers to
Mike,
break that down
always
for us.
fun. We really like when you bring snacks.
This is the Nation's Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. Google has proven we're living in a parallel universe with new mind-bendingly powerful chip, Willow. And of course, it's not a coincidence that they name the chip Willow. Now, I'm going to show you and do my best so that you can share this video with people so they understand what is happening with these artificial intelligence stories they're hearing every single day, and stories about parallel universes and multiverses, because they are bringing the demons forward, and these computer tech guys are openly talking, including Elon Musk, about summoning demons, as insane as it sounds. The majority of people hear these stories and they have no idea what they're even listening to. They hear the story in the headline and they see a picture of a microchip, and then their brain they short circuit. They go, I don't know what that even means, but whatever. Quantum computing, inches closer to reality. These are all the stories that are out there. Quantum computing, breakthrough, parallel universes, multiverses. Let me explain all of this to you, and we'll start with what's really happening here, right? This is sorcery and witchcraft. We are seeing them using this stuff out in the open now, using terms like science and tech to get away with what they're actually doing. And they're using the term Willow for their latest Google experiment here, their latest mind-bending chip into a parallel universe. And of course, there's a lot of significance to the word Willow. You might remember Taylor Swift's video called Willow, where the music video followed Taylor Swift as she was trying to connect with her lover. Something stood in the way, and they were forced to escape to different time periods where they attempt to connect once again. So you think it's a coincidence where that video was about time traveling and witchcraft called Willow? And what you're hearing here is parallel universes with Willow. Willow is often associated with the occult and witchcraft. This goes back to Zeus. It goes back to Helise, which means Willow was Zeus's nurse. It was also associated with water. Her high priestess used willow in their water magic and witchcraft. You could go to any one of these websites that's about witchcraft and sorcery, and they'll talk to you about how important in these rituals that are performed. You might remember the movie Willow. Enter the world of Willow. Journey to the far corners of your imagination to a land of myth and magic where dream and reality live side by side, to a place that never existed, a time that never was. It is a world where a young man named Willow lives out an adventure that explodes beyond the boundaries of his own hopes and fears, right? So that's just another coincidence that we have movies called Willow, music videos Willow, Willow talking about, and the theme of the movie Willow, just like the theme of Taylor Swift's music video, wasn't inspired by the movie Willow. It was inspired by witchcraft and sorcery and summoning of demonic entities, parallel universes, all of this existing in the same space. And this goes to what they're trying to do right now. And it actually ties in, and I've talked about this, with the climate initiative as well. So what they're talking about here with this chip, you read the article about the chip, you'll read things that won't make sense to you. It says Google's quantum computing lab just achieved a major milestone. On Monday, the company revealed that its new quantum computing chip is capable of performing a computing challenge in less than 5 minutes. A process says would take one of the world's fastest supercomputers 10 septillion years or longer than the age of the universe. Every person who reads that has no idea what that even means, right? Septillion, 99% of the population don't even know if that's a word. So when people hear this stuff, just like the stuff they hear at CERN, they tell you these things and make it sound like something that you can't comprehend. So you're supposed to dismiss it and say that they're smarter than you. The same thing we hear at CERN, the same thing we hear when they try to tell us about mRNA. All of this stuff is really simple to figure out. If you just read between the lines and you realize what they're trying to do, all goes back to witchcraft and sorcery, okay? So what they're speaking about here is quantum computing, right? And if you're not familiar, you need cool technology for quantum computing. Quantum computers require cold environments, which I'll play for you in a few minutes, some of these clips so you can have a better understanding. They require cold environments because they rely on delicate objects called quantum bits or qubits, okay? So they need a cold environment to operate. These gigantic computers, which they're going to use to bring forth things that are on the other side. They literally admit this. You might be listening to me for the first time. You might be new to my channel. You might say, this stuff sounds insane. This guy's out of his mind. I will play for you some of the clips so you understand. Even Elon Musk talking about AI having to do with summoning demons. That's what this is. So they talk about how they need to be cold, right? The quantum computers have to be cold. And if you remember, a lot of films always depict demonic possession as being around cold, feeling cold, right? The Exorcist, The Cold Room, the Poltergeist movies, the ice freezing. The Stranger Things Upside Down is portrayed as being a cold place where these demons actually reside. And what else is happening during all of this stuff? What do you constantly hear your government and scientists telling you needs to happen on Earth? We need to cool the Earth, right? Because these agendas coincide with one another. We see all these articles. Controversial methods to cool the Earth by reflecting sunlight gain traction as global temperatures rise. And they tell you we've got to cool the Earth or humanity won't exist. They want to cool the Earth because these quantum computers are going to be all around us running the matrix. They're going to be running this AI governance. And these things literally are summoning demons. So when they talk about multiverses and they talk about parallel universes, they're talking about bringing things over from the other side, right? God put a veil between us and the other side. They want to bring those things forth. That's what they're doing when they're talking about trying to create black holes at CERN. That's what they're doing when they're trying to explain to you why we need quantum computing, how we can solve problems that we'd never, ever be able to solve before. We're talking about the fallen one's technology. And Gordy Rose is somebody, I'm going to try to show you some of the clips here. Gordy Rose often strikes my channel. Gordy Rose has a company called D-Wave. I like to call them D-Bags, because all of these guys operating in the name of science are operating in the name of witchcraft and sorcery, named science, named technology, and they use terminology that you aren't going to understand. But Gordy Rose in some of his interviews talks about and compares what they're doing with quantum computing to actual angels and demons. You might remember Aleister Crowley. Today they call them angels and demons. Tomorrow they will call them something else. So when he's talking about how artificial intelligence is really aliens, he's talking about how they're actually demons. You'll also hear him talk about those monoliths. Remember all those monoliths that have been popping up around the United States of America, around the earth over the last couple of years, just monoliths popping up? This is the fallen one's technology. Here is Gordy Rose explaining to you, explaining to people who are sitting in a room and they still walk into this room. They don't know what he's saying because they don't believe in the spiritual war going on. When they hear demons, they don't believe that exists. But if they heard the word ghosts, they would believe it, right? And he's literally telling you that these things don't give a crap about us. These things that these people who have never been authorized the power to do this, they're allowed to do it, of course, because our government takes our tax money and funds and gives these guys grants to do this stuff because these people are all practicing sorcery and witchcraft, right? He's talking about how we need quantum computing because we can solve problems faster. And he's saying that, but by building out these machines, which need to be kept cold, we're summoning the demon forth. And these demons don't give an F about you or me. In fact, they want to wipe out the human race. They look at us the same way we look at ants. Listen for yourself and understand what they're trying to tell you when they talk about artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and now openly talking about parallel universes. They know that you're not going to understand anything in these articles that they put out there. So let me make it clear to you. Listen.
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Didn't work out. I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon.
So I received this message from the heavens. My microwave dish, my SETI dish, finally captures something. We're coming to your planet, a super intelligent alien race. We're coming July 13th, 2030, and boy, you better be ready. AI is just like that. It's going to be exactly the thing that you're thinking about those super intelligent AIs. So the one thing I can tell you is they're not going to be like us. So alien means, different. These things that we're building are not going to be people. They might be really smart, they might be really good at all sorts of different things, but they're not going to be like us. They're going to be aliens. And they're going to be, I'm sorry to say, way smarter than every single person in this room. But these words, demons, doesn't capture the essence of what's happening here. Yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now, they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want. And underneath it all is this rising tsunami that, if we're not careful, is going to wipe us all out.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about quantum computers and why people care so much about them. And that is that there are an enormous number, mind-bogglingly large number, of parallel realities, as real as this one, that have different consistent histories. So imagine a world where all of the laws of physics as we know them are obeyed, but different decisions were made along the way. Different decisions at the level of tiny microscopic particles, different decisions all the way up to what you chose to eat for lunch, and whether you chose to come to the session or not. Quantum mechanics makes a very specific prediction that all of those are as real as the thing that you remember. And this is bizarre, because we don't see those other things. But science has reached the point now where we can build machines that exploit those other worlds. And quantum computers are perhaps the most exciting of all of these. Humans use tools to do things. If you give humans a new kind of tool that can do things that you couldn't otherwise do, imagine the possibilities. This is what they look like. There are two of them. From the outside, they look like giant black monoliths. They have a fridge inside them, a refrigerator that cools these chips to almost absolute zero. Hundreds of times colder than interstellar space. Amongst the coldest and most isolated and extreme conditions that humans have ever been able to engineer. So if you have the opportunity to stand next to one of these machines, it is an awe-inspiring thing, at least for me. It feels like an altar to an alien god. They really are impressive machines. The heart of this big box is a tiny chip about the size of your thumbnail. And on this chip resides all of the wonder and magic that makes this thing go. I'm not going to describe in any mathematical detail how it all works, but let me give you an analogy. In quantum mechanics, there's this concept that a thing can exist in two states which are mutually exclusive at the same time. Imagine that there really are parallel universes out there, and now imagine you have two that are exactly identical in every respect, all the way out to the horizon as far as we can see, down to the last little atomic detail of every single thing, with only one difference. And that's the value of a little thing called a qubit on this chip. In a quantum computer, that device can be in this strange situation where these two parallel universes have a nexus, a point in space where they overlap. And when you increase the number of these devices, every time you add one of these qubits, you double the number of these parallel universes that you have access to. Until such time when you get to a chip like this, which has about 500 of these bits, you have something like 2 to the 500th power of these guys living in that chip. It feels like an altar to an alien god of these guys living in that chip.
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Didn't work out. I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon.
So it should be very easy to understand what they're trying to do. They are not smarter than you. These people do not know things that you don't know. The only stuff that they know and have knowledge of is because this is the fallen angels technology, which has been passed over to them. This is witchcraft and sorcery. This is what they've always tried to implement. And Christians and followers of Christ have always gotten in the way. So what have they done over the last 100 years? Because Christians have gotten in the way because they haven't allowed these people to go forth with doing this stuff. So what have they done? They've created things like atheism. They've taken a portion of the population and made them not believe in Christ. They've watered down the church, making the church all about love and the Psalms, which of course are a great thing. But the Bible itself is a warning. It is a book of laws, a book of rules, a book of how to live your life that God gave to us. But it's also a warning about rulers in high places, about the wicked ones. So they've worn down the church. They have their CIA-created evangelical movement, which is stereotype Christians to look a certain way, act a certain way, and everything has moved forward while they're bringing this about, and everyone's distracted. They keep hearing about AI being dangerous at the same time they're telling you to download Grok, download these apps, because you can make really cool memes and you can make really cool GIFs, and everybody just moves forward with it. And they're like, well, it's convenient because I can ask this thing to give me directions while I'm driving and I don't have to, pipe it into my phone. Okay. And they just start accepting this tech in their lives and they don't even know how it works or what it is. And like I keep saying, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 2, where in time past he walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. All this stuff is happening through the air. Frequencies being used that we can't see. They are summoning this forward, and people out there are allowing it to happen because they don't understand it. And when they read articles like that, they're getting conditioned at the same time that they're seeing portals popping up in New York, in Philadelphia, Yes, these are portals as cameras, but they're preparing you to literally have these portals in our space where these things are going, these interdimensional beings, whatever they want to call them, are going to be able to exist in the same space as us. And these things, of course, want to do what? They want to annihilate the human race, unless, of course, you mix with these things and you merge with these things and get this technology inside of your body. And that's what we're headed towards. So while stories are out there about parallel universes, don't allow yourself to be overwhelmed by it, because this is what these wicked things, these wicked demons, these wicked, whatever you want to call them, reptilian beings on this earth have been trying to do. They have been trying to bring these things forward. They have been building things like the Hadron Collider at CERN. They have been building these quantum computers to do this. And like I said earlier, I've always talked about this notion of them talking about cooling the earth. I've talked about the carbon footprint. I've talked about how that will enslave us. But there's also a method to their madness in regards to cooling the earth. There's a reason that they want the earth cooled and they want to switch over to green energy, because cooling the earth will allow these things to exist in our space. And they've constantly showed us in any of these movies, for the most part, when you go into these demonic possession movies, these ghost movies, it's always cold. They need to cool the earth. The quantum computers needed to be extremely cold for them to be able to exist outside of those little refrigerators that they're currently in. And I believe that's part of what their wicked plan is. So, of course, Google comes out with this and calls it Willow, which has nothing but tie-ins to the occult and witchcraft, going back to Greek mythology. You can go back to, just even willow bark, which is a witchcraft herb. And I'm sure some of you like the look of a willow tree, but this is deeper than a willow tree. This is witchcraft at work, and that's exactly what we're seeing going on in our reality now. We're seeing these people bring forth, literally summon the demon, as Elon Musk said, and no one's paying attention. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.